What up, gang? Jackpot time coming at you. It is Friday, September 30th, 2022. Hope everybody's doing well. Sitting out here on the back deck. I don't know if you can see that. Hurricane Ian, the winds are starting to whip around, and it's going to hit the South Carolina coast early this afternoon. So be safe if you're anywhere near the coast. South Carolina, where that's going to hit. I think it's somewhere between Charleston and Georgetown, from what I've heard. We're expected to make landfall, but not a good situation there. And keep the people in Florida over there on the west coast of Florida or whatever in your thoughts and prayers. They just absolutely got brutalized the other day by this thing. Going to be feeling the effects of it for a long time to come. That was a very destructive hurricane, and just goes to tell you more and more why I'm certainly not one to be taking advice from, but I would never live in one of those areas. Just couldn't do it. Nice place to visit, but not a good place to live, in my opinion. I guess if you got family there and that's where you're from, that's where you've raised, that's your thing. But I couldn't do it. I just could not. At any rate, last night, Gamecocks 50-10 winners over the South Carolina State Bulldogs in Williams-Brice Stadium in front of an announced crowd of 61,500. If there were 61,500 people there, I am a skinny Chinese man with an afro. Okay? They were good if there was 40,000 people there. And you really can't expect any more than that for a Thursday night game against an FCS foe with bad weather coming in and a lot of people with other things more pressing to take care of. There were also a lot of high school games last night, and I'm sure that a lot of kids playing, parents going to go to their kids' games instead of going to the Gamecock game that they'd normally go to on Saturday. So very understandable. Pretty workmanlike performance by the Gamecocks last night. Over 500 yards, or just under 500 yards, I believe, of total offense from South Carolina. Spencer Rattler goes 21 of 27 last night through the air. It should have been 23 of 27. Two interceptions that really weren't his fault. A bad tipped ball on one, and one where the receiver just stopped running his route just a split second too early, and the timing was off. But other than that, a good outing by Spencer Rattler. A couple of touchdown passes there. We finally saw one to Austin Stogner, and another one to Marshawn Lloyd. I don't understand why. When we get that close to the goal line, we continue to involve the running backs in the throw game so much. I'd like to see some of these receivers get some touchdown catches. Marshawn Lloyd's going to have his touchdowns. This guy, to me, is the best back in the state. If you're a Clemson fan, you can get on here and debate me if you wish. But I think Marshawn has moves that Will Shipley could only dream of having. This man absolutely hurdled a Charlotte player last Saturday night, hurdled him, and often when you see hurdling happen all the time, and jumping over kids happen all the time, but normally that ball carrier stumbles and he falls after a few steps. This kid, and I've seen him do it in high school. Well, I didn't see him personally. I've seen his highlights of him hurdling players and continuing on a long run or touchdown. That's exactly what he did against Charlotte. That's freaky. That's freaky stuff. So great job there by him. If he hadn't had that, I know a lot of ifs, buts, and whatevers, but if he had not torn his ACL in a freak injury on the first day of practice back in 2020, and he missed the entire season there, I had to have some reconstructive surgery on that. I believe that he'd be a top 10 back in the country this year. There's no doubt in my mind that he would be. It not only did it knock out his entire 2020 season, it hampered him a lot last year. He did not look like he was running with a lot of anger, which is what he looks like he's running with this year. Looks like he's running with a purpose, and I'm glad to see it. Defensively, you hold them to 10 points. I wasn't really impressed with the run defense yesterday. They kind of let a guy who was I guess a decent running quarterback at the FCS level kind of run around a little bit and pick up some yardage on you. And quite honestly, I don't know that you're going to face a quarterback in the SEC with that type of skill set. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying, well, that SEC State quarterback is better than what you're going to see in the SEC. No, I'm not. I'm just saying that I don't know that you're going to see that style of quarterback or that particular style of offense again this season. The only one I may be able to compare it to may be Florida's offense, with Anthony Richardson, who runs around a lot. And if last night was any indication, if you don't get some things shored up, you're in for a long day against him. They didn't pass the ball on you at all. A couple of catches by a kid. His last name is his last name escapes me. He's from South Carolina. He's actually an FCS All-American. He caught a couple of balls last night, but other than that, really didn't do a lot. Kept him out of the end zone for the most part, which was good. Had to kind of rely on them committing penalties. That's kind of a sloppy team, kind of undisciplined. Their coach, man, he's a trip. That old guy looked like he was about to either bust a blood vessel, or fall down in anger and break a hip at the beginning of that game. He got kind of agitated about a call there, but it's all good. He's emotional, and he's just he wants to see his team do well, and he's not afraid to get in their ass when they don't. I'll tell you that. He gives some some butt chewings on the sidelines. Definitely an old school, fashioned type coach, and I'd like to see a little bit more of that, to be honest with you. I'd like to see a lot more of that from South Carolina. I'd like to see Shane Beamer jack somebody up on the sidelines one time when they screw up. What's wrong with that? Every coach that does it, though, it seems like we're not like me saying, hey, I enjoyed seeing that right there. Like, man, did you see how he treated that kid? Or did you see what he did? Blah, blah, blah. It's just like this past 2 weekends ago, in that Cal Notre Dame game, when they that Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, was he was telling the quarterback, like, he was mouthing to him from the booth, like, get your head in the fucking game or something. I don't know what he was saying to him, but you know what? I mean, you got to be able to, it's hard coaching. I mean, you got to be able to take tough coaching. You got to be able to take big boy coaching and not sit over there and cry on the sidelines. And people were like, did you see the way that Tommy Rees talked to his quarterback? Well, I mean, my God. I mean, he's stepping in on his own wiener, I mean, he's not doing a good job out there. So, he's going to get on his ass. I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens, isn't it? That's what's supposed to happen. I remember the Will Muschamp was like, that meme of him when he was the coach at Florida. He was getting all angry at one of his players or so. I mean, he wasn't doing his job. Now, you need to give these people a break, but Shane Beamer needs to do a little bit of that. Build up some toughness in your players. But at any rate, maybe he does behind closed doors. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe he does. He takes his record now with the Gamecocks to 10-8. Got a big matchup coming up next Saturday evening in Lexington, Kentucky, against the currently 4-0 Kentucky Wildcats. They're playing Ole Miss tomorrow in Oxford. That's a game that kind of got a short line on it. I think Ole Miss is favored by 7. If I were you, I wouldn't bet that. I think Kentucky covers that 7. I think this is going to be a really close ball game. I know I give Kentucky fans a lot of crap, but I do think they're a good team. Ole Miss, defensively, they say they're better than they have been in the past. Their schedule has been epically easy so far. Georgia Tech, Tulsa, Tulsa's better than Georgia Tech. Tulsa, Georgia Tech, and then a couple of cream puffs. It'll be an interesting game, and it'll be a fun-to-watch game. I feel like it will be a more fun game to watch than what Kentucky normally puts out on the field. And that simply because Chris Rodriguez is supposed to be back tomorrow, and simply because they're playing Ole Miss. And normally when you play Ole Miss, it's a fun game to watch, no matter who's playing. So I don't know if Carolina Jackpot will really be able to watch that one live. It's when it happens. I'm supposed to leave tomorrow morning from Greenville-Spartanburg Airport a little after 7 a.m. and fly to Charlotte. And then there's about an hour-long wait around and board a plane and fly to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Supposed to get there shortly before noon. I think it's like 11:20 or something. We have to pick up a car and go get our bags and stuff like that. So I don't know how much of that one I'm going to be able to watch. And I've also, I've kind of relegated myself this coming Saturday to doing some stuff with the wife and just really not being all about football. I'm going to get on here and make comment on the Clemson game or whatever goes on that night. I probably will. But, I don't know. And I don't really know what Kentucky we're going to see tomorrow and what I want the outcome of that game to be. Of course, I want Kentucky to lose. But I don't know. I would like to see them lose. But I don't know if that's the best thing that we need to see as far as situationally for our game against them next Saturday night. You might want to see Kentucky win. I might just pull for Kentucky, to be honest with you. I might pull for Kentucky and hope that they win this game, hoping that they will kind of be in letdown mode against the Gamecocks, as opposed to them losing a game here and then being in fired up mode against the Gamecocks. And I know I've had fans of other teams get in the comment section and say, you shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be like that. You want to beat them at their best. Blah, 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 blah. Well, here's the bottom line. I want to beat this team. I want to beat them senseless, something fierce. I want to beat them senseless, something absolutely fierce. I cannot stand Kentucky. I cannot stand the fact that they've elevated their program, supposedly, and really the only thing that Mark Stoops has done to elevate that program is the same thing that I bitched at Will Muschamp for not being able to do for years, and a little bit last year, bitched at Shane Beamer for not being able to do. And that is win winnable ball games. Win the games that you should win. Win the games, win the toss-ups. Win the games where you're not that much better than the other team, where you're not that much more talented than the other team. You may be less talented than the other team, but somehow you find a way to win. That is exactly what I have bemoaned these people to be able to do the past the past 8-9 years. And they haven't been able to do it. They have not been able to do it. If Kentucky had played South Carolina's schedule so far, they would be sitting here at 3-2, just like South Carolina is. If Kentucky thinks that they could have beaten Arkansas, they are smoking some of that hillbilly meth that they produce up there in the backwood hills of Appalachia. They would not have beaten Arkansas. They would have gotten a train ran in on them dry. Somewhat similar to what the Gamecocks did. Maybe they wouldn't have gotten pushed around on the line of scrimmage like the Gamecocks did there, especially in the first half. But they wouldn't have won that game. They wouldn't have produced. They wouldn't have offensively been able to put up the points that the Gamecocks did either, or the yards. I can sit here and definitely tell you that, especially in week 2, they would not have been able to do it. So, with that being said, I'm looking forward to the games this weekend. Probably do a picks against the spread video later on today at some point in time, in between packing and getting everything else ready to go. But hey, good win last night for the Gamecocks. Hopefully they build on it next week and take this thing to 4-2. I will see you guys later. Appreciate it. Peace, and I'm out of here. And go Gamecocks. Woo! Spurs up my toes up, baby. And go Coach Beamer.